Guys, it's Madison Estes. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be going over all of the horror books that I grabbed at my library's annual book sale. So what happens is in the morning they have a regular book sale, and then in the afternoon they close everything down for 30 minutes and open back up, and they have the annual bag sale. For $2 you get to stuff one of these bad boys with as many books as you can carry, and I did. I totally packed this thing full of horror and thriller books. But since last year's video was way too long, I decided to separate horror and thriller books this year. So the first book I want to talk about is Bespelling Jane Austen. This is a book that has 4 retellings of Jane Austen stories with a supernatural twist. So for instance, one of the stories is Blood and Prejudice. Set in the business world of contemporary New York City, Liz Bennet joins Mr. Darcy in his hunt for a vampire cure. Yeah, I really love retellings and I really love Jane Austen, so I'm really looking forward to this one. The next book I want to talk about is Schism by Laura Maizano. It says art therapy hasn't done crap for Gabe Jones. He keeps drawing his fiancée again and again, but his memories remain lost. Meanwhile, there's a girl named Leah whose parents were attacked by creatures from another dimension. Her parents were locked in an insane asylum because the story sounds outlandish, so she's trying to prove that those creatures exist to get her parents out of the loony bin. Leah and Gabe connect and try to help each other out, presumably because they're both trying to access this other dimension, and then a sinister plot unravels. This definitely sounds like a conspiracy theory thriller with some supernatural elements, which is something that I don't think I've ever read before, so I think this premise is really unique and I'm interested in giving this a shot. The next book I grabbed is Tales from the Gas Station by Jack Townsend. This is based off of a creepypasta by the same name. I love creepypastas, and this one went viral and the author decided to go ahead and write an entire book about it, so that sounds very promising to me. The description on the back is really vague. What really sold it for me was honestly the cover, the gas station setting. I love gas station settings. I think that they have a lot of potential to be very creepy, and I love the idea of a whole story taking place around one. And also just the fact that it's a creepypasta that was expanded into a novel. I think that that's interesting, and I want to see whether or not the author was successful in doing that. But yeah, the back blurb doesn't tell you too much. It just says that Jack is a full-time gas station employee who's trying to mind his own business despite the strange day-to-day occurrences, and he attracts the attention of a few conspiracy theorists, and you know, it seems like things begin to escalate from there, but it stays pretty vague, so I'm not exactly sure what this is going to be about, but I am looking forward to reading it, and again, just seeing, you know, what it's like to have a creepypasta expanded into a novel and whether or not the author was successful in doing that. So these next few books I picked up with the intention of giving them away. I grabbed a few bags of books that are picture books and some YA and middle grade books to give away at Halloween instead of candy this year for Read-A-Ween. And so I grabbed some books that I thought, you know, might appeal to like some middle grade kids, but I think I might keep them. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna keep them. I don't know. They're pretty cool. You guys tell me what you think. This is the Zombie Apocalypse Survival Guide. It's a Scholastic book, so yeah, obviously this is for kids, but look how cool that is. Oh, guys, I'm like 5 years old, I swear. But yeah, I'm a huge dork, and this is really cool to me. I don't know. Do you see it? Can you see? Anyways, so it's really interesting. As you can see, it's broken down into 3 sections: the zombie virus, the zombie identification guide, and survival skills. It's got some pretty neat illustrations in it. It talks about stages of the disease. It's got some information on the Spanish flu, smallpox, and yellow fever, and a bunch of other real-life pandemics. But no, it does not mention COVID anywhere. You can tell this is a few years old, or else they probably wouldn't have even included this section if, you know, considering how controversial and political COVID still is. But anyways, I thought that was really interesting. And of course it ends that section with wash your hands, which I think is so funny. And then it's got some information on zombie biology, and it talks about the average lifespan of the zombie and the process of decay. Yeah, I don't know. I just really love this. I think that it's cool. I don't think that I'm giving this away, even though I know it's for kids, but I don't care. Ooh, I love this. I didn't even notice this. Rules of the road. What are you gonna do now? Which looks a lot like the rules from Zombieland. It's things like don't go out alone, travel in a small group, sleep in shifts. Sleeping in shifts is a really important one. I was watching The Last of Us and I was like, Joel, you have to sleep sometime. You can't be a badass zombie killer if you don't get your 8 hours in. And then at the end, once you get to survival skills, it has stuff about like how to make a tripwire alarm and how to like scavenge for supplies and how to make weapons. So really neat. Oh, and at the very end, it has a zombie identification quiz to help you figure out if you're ready for the zombie apocalypse. And I know for a fact that I am not. I think I have all the information to survive a zombie apocalypse. Also, I'm really good about shutting doors behind me, which seems to be key for surviving a zombie apocalypse. I also recently watched Black Summer, or rewatched it. And the episode with the one guy that just keeps running from the zombie for the entire episode, and he forgets to shut a door behind him like 3 times. I'm like, okay, in this world, Black Summer, zombies have been shown to have a really hard time opening doors. So it's just, I would have taken him 3 seconds and he would have saved so much time. Anyways, so I feel like when it comes to that aspect, you know, I would be very good at surviving because I'm very good at shutting doors. However, I'm not super fit in terms of being able to run long distances, so if I was like there on day 0, like just a herd of zombies coming towards me, I probably wouldn't make it, you guys. I'm not a very fast runner and I have low endurance, so that's my biggest weak point when it comes to theoretical zombie invasions. So this is really fun, and I don't think the kids are getting this one. So the next book that I stole from the kids section is The World's Worst Monsters and Villains. And the main reason I stole this, and I'm probably not giving this away for Halloween either, is some of these illustrations are really cool. It's got monsters from like different folklore around the world, and I can't pronounce most of these. I think this is a Kimotsa. I can't pronounce most of these monsters, honestly. It's got monsters inspired by H.P. Lovecraft. Even Lord Voldemort's in here. There's this cool 3-headed dragon they call Zahak, I think that's how you pronounce it. This is a tassel worm, which is supposed to have the head of a cat but the body of a lizard. And this is an Amarok, which is native to Canada, and it's basically just like a really big version of a wolf. So yeah, this is really interesting. Some of these feel really made up to me, especially the half cat, half lizard one. I mean, obviously they're all made up, but they feel like a little kid made them up or something. But, you know, they all have origins in, like, Europe and Canada, and it talks a little bit about the origin of these monsters, which I think is really interesting. So yeah, I'm pretty sure the kids are not getting this one either. But also, I feel like if a little kid picked this book up, it could possibly give them nightmares, so I'm really sparing them from childhood trauma, right? So these are 2 YA horror books that I grabbed with the intention of giving away, and these I probably will give away after I read them. This one is called Gallows Hill by Lewis Duncan. It says that Sarah can see people's darkest secrets in a crystal paperweight. Too bad they still believe in witches in this town and they don't like them. And it says that she is about to relive a horrible ordeal that happened hundreds of years ago, unless someone can undo a terrible wrong. So I think it sounds interesting. The blurb is a little vague. It reminds me a little bit of the Netflix Fear Street miniseries, so I'm looking forward to this. And I used to read this author a lot whenever I was in middle school, so I am interested in checking them out again and seeing if this author's work holds up well. Another YA book I grabbed is Bad Girls Don't Die. I love this cover. It's very pretty and light and doesn't look like a horror story at all, but it's a little bit disturbing the way she's hidden behind the curtain. Also love the title. Wasn't expecting a horror story, actually. I just grabbed it because I thought the title was interesting. This story is about a girl named Alexis whose sister becomes obsessed with an antique doll. It begins changing her entire personality and she becomes really aggressive. And then weird things begin happening around the house, like doors opening and shutting by themselves, water boiling on an unlit stove, etc. So this sounds really interesting to me, and again, I just love that title. I love like how the cover at first doesn't seem very scary, and then you read the back blurb and it just kind of like gives you a new perspective when you look at the cover, how this girl like looks like she's truly hiding from something. So anyways, I thought it was interesting and I thought that I would give it a shot. The next book I grabbed is Down the Road, a zombie horror story by Bowie Ibarra. So this book is about a young school teacher who is living in the shadow of his fiance's unsolved murder, and then a zombie outbreak happens, and you know, clearly he's not going to be able to deal with his grief because he's got a lot of other things going on. And you know, he's trying to travel back home. He encounters a bunch of obstacles like FEMA camps and street thugs and things like that. So essentially this is kind of like The Last of Us, The Walking Dead, like, you know, it's got a lot of zombie tropes that we've seen before, but that's okay because I love post-apocalyptic stories. I love post-apocalyptic Western stories, so this looks like it is right up my alley. The next horror book I picked up is Every Kind of Wicked by Lisa Black. This book is a little bit mystery, a little bit horror. I'm not 100% sure this really belongs with the horror books, but it kind of gives me the same energy, the same vibe as Chelsea Cain's Heartsick series, which definitely felt a little bit more horror than mystery to me, just in terms of how graphic some of the torture scenes were. This book is about a forensics expert and a vigilante detective who are trying to track down a killer. In the Dust Jacket, it talks about how the detective would go to any lengths to achieve justice and how he shocked the forensic detective with how far he would go to cover his tracks. So I think that this book is going to have like some elements of like Dexter in it, in terms of like, you know, the cop that, you know, will do anything to get justice and then cover it up, and, you know, kind of a little bit of hypocrisy there. If he'll go to any lengths to cover his tracks, well then he's not really out there dispensing justice if he's willing to go to any lengths to cover his tracks, because then that would involve killing innocent people, right? So then we have the vigilante murderer conundrum. I don't know if this is going to be as dark as Dexter, but I'm really intrigued by it, and this is one that I'm really excited to read. This next book is the horror book that I am most excited to read out of everything that I grabbed, and that is The Never List by Koathai Zahn. So The Never List is about a list of actions that these two girls, Jennifer and Sarah, decided that they would never take for the sake of safety. Well, they decide to throw caution to the wind one night, and they accept a cab ride that leads to them getting kidnapped. The two girls are taken to a cellar and tortured. Only one of them survives. She escapes, and 10 years later, their abductor is up for parole. Now, I don't know why someone like this would ever be up for parole in real life, although I guess there are some places where that happens. Just seems like if someone has kidnapped multiple people and killed someone, they should probably not be up for parole for a very, very long time. It says that the abductor has been sending her threatening messages from jail, so she decides that it is time to confront her fears and her phobias, and that includes, you know, contacting some of the other survivors that seem to have a grudge against her for some reason. And it talks about her going into like these BDSM clubs and investigating some mystery as well. So that sounds really interesting. It kind of sounds like there might be a conspiracy underneath the kidnapping, which is really cool. I hope that that is the case. It definitely seems like this book is going to be touching on some very dark topics, which could be interesting. Hopefully not too dark. I did read a lot of torture books last year. And I kind of don't really want to read that anymore. I'm fine with it in my movies, strangely enough. I love Hostel and Saw and things like that, but, you know, reading about it just feels kind of tiresome, and I feel like a lot of the torture books that I've read don't have really interesting plots. It just kind of feels like you're stuck in that one moment, and that's really what the author chooses to focus on over plot and characterization. So I guess what I'm saying is I haven't found a really good torture book that has a compelling plot. So I'm hoping that, you know, the torture is kind of on the down low and isn't, you know, super explicit. Although I did like the torture scenes in Heartsick by Chelsea Cain. I didn't like the sequel to that book, but the original was pretty good, and yeah, there was a lot of torture in that, and I thought it was a great book. So I don't know. I don't know what I want. I do know what I want. I just want a book that has good plot, and hopefully that's what this will have. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe. On this channel, I post reviews, writing advice, horror commentary, and vlogs. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you later.